Alright, this was a fun project. Hey guys, it's the Villaman here, home theater enthusiast and lover of all things tech. And we're sitting in what is now my dedicated home theater room, but it certainly did not begin that way. In fact, this was once a spare bedroom that I turned into this room, all DIY. And in this video, we're going to show you exactly what I did. Stick around. Here's the current layout of the room with storage on the right, the bed, of course, and the closet on the left. The first thing we have to do is expand this wall on the left side so it spans the entirety of the room to make our screen wall. That means we need some 2x4 and some drywall from Home Depot, as well as some nails and screws. Once I measure the wall and the wood, we can begin the cutting so we can start the framing. I use my finishing nailer to tack it all together, then use screws to really hold them in place. After that, I cut the drywall to the width of the cavity, then we can start with the drywall screws. A little joint tape and some mud, and we're pretty much done. Gotta clean that mess up too so we don't spread it all over the carpet. Whoever made this room decided to put a little flare on the edge of the wall so it won't be entirely seamless, but it will be annoying to look at. Next, all we have to do is some sanding so that the join is as seamless as it can be. The room has a closet too, and I decided that in order to get the room how I want it to be, I'll have to remove it. So let's tear it down. It's constructed using metal studs, and I can tell you right now, I am not a fan of this method at all. It's nowhere near as rigid as wood, as you might guess, and it does have some resonance. So it's not that good for audio either. If you look closely, you can even see it flexing as I pull the drywall off. Once the closet is removed, it really opens up the space and opens up the drop ceiling. Not to mention the carpet too, but that's another story. Now we're gonna have to blend the joins of this back wall where the closet wall used to be so that it looks seamless. So first I have to strip off the joint tape that they used before and put my own, and then some mud and then some sanding. Once I finish with the wall, I can start patching up the drop ceiling, and it's not as difficult as you might think. The parts are readily available from Home Depot, so all I had to get were the grids that I needed in the length I needed, as well as some of the drop ceiling tiles and some mounting hardware. The grids come in standard sizes, so I have to cut it down to fit my needs. The mounting hardware is used to secure the grids to the ceiling joists above them, because the last thing you want is for it to all come crashing down when you're finished. And the mounting hardware is pretty much some screws and metal wires used to keep the grids in place. As much as I don't like drop ceilings, I really liked how this turned out. Can you even tell that there was a closet here? But as good as the room looked with the now complete ceiling, something more had to be done to it. So let's paint it black. I didn't want any light reflecting from the screen on the ceiling and vice versa. While I was at it, I decided to paint all the trim black as well. Now that we've finished construction on the room, we're going to work on the lighting, and for the front wall, I want diffused LED lighting. So the lighting can be on but not cast any light on the screen, which would affect the image quality. We'll attach 1-inch trim strips up top so that we can use that to attach the LED lighting strip to it. After that, we attach some 3-inch trim strips. At the bottom, we don't need that 1-inch trim strip because we'll be attaching the LEDs directly to the existing trim on the wall. So you can go ahead and attach the 3-inch trim strip right now and add the LEDs after. The one good thing about these drop ceilings, and I mean the one good thing, is that they can be easily removed to run wires when needed. This is the bundle of wire for the front stage. All it's missing is another XLR cable, but that one's stuck in the mail, so I'm gonna do it and just pull that one through when it gets here. LCR and the 2 passive subs. The rack will be outside the room in the hallway, so all the wires needed for the room will have to be pulled through one way or the other. Once we have the wires pulled into the room, we'll make 2 cuts above the drywall. One for the wires for the subwoofers and one for the wires for the LCR, because they'll be terminated using different wall plates and they'll be at different sides of a wall stud. Tell me if you see what I did wrong here. Okay. Did you see that too? I did. After we've pulled all the wires through, we can begin with the measurements so we can start with the mounting of the projector screen. The screen box is pretty large. It's not exactly heavy, but it is large. It's about probably 6 or so feet tall. Let's see what's inside. The screen material is fixed to the frame using Velcro as opposed to the mounting rings that you'll typically see on projector screens, and this one is actually kind of easier, or at least less time consuming. You still have to pull the screen material pretty taut so that you don't have any wrinkles on the screen. And contrary to what the directions say, I found that attaching the middle parts first and working your way outwards is the more efficient and just easier way of attaching the screen to the frame. The screen is the Elite Screens Aeon Cinegray material, and I use the Cinegray because I like the added contrast it provides over a pure white screen, so you'll have better blacks and better colors overall. For seating, Valencia sent over their Tuscany Ultimate heated and ventilated seat, which has, as it says in the name, heat and ventilation, so it's heated and cooled, which should be pretty cool. It joins my 2 other Valencia Oslo Ultimate seats. I'll be reviewing this one soon to let you guys know exactly what I think. To mount the projector to the ceiling in the back of the room, I'll use some scrap wood I had laying around that I screwed to the ceiling joist. It's really solid and it's not going anywhere. Now we have to do something about all these bare walls in the theater, and that means making some acoustic panels. Now, of course, this is something you can buy from several places, but I have a very specific look in mind and I'll need to build it myself. Plus, it's more cost effective. I built two kinds of panels, a bigger bass trap version and a smaller one to put throughout the room to absorb sound from the speakers. I built them using 1x2 and 1x4 lumber, depending on which of the panels it is. I'll be making a more in-depth video of how I made these in case anyone wants to build some for themselves. These hangers make hanging them very easy, but may not work for everyone, so you might still need a French cleat or the old anchor and screw method. For subwoofers, we have two of the Deep Sea Sound Mariana 18S, which are 18-inch sealed subwoofers, which are monsters. I'll tell you right now, these have some incredible output and dig really low. They come in a bunch of finishes, and these two here are in for review, so they won't necessarily match my room. This is the brown zebra and red mahogany finish. You can get them in black too, of course. Because they have so many options for finishes, these would be great in, say, a living room setup, or if you have a very specific home theater aesthetic. They of course offer larger subs as well, including a dual 18-inch version and a massive 24-inch version. I've left a link in the description if you want to check them out yourself. And of course, I'll be reviewing these as well to let you know all my thoughts on them. The other pair of subs I have are from GSG Audio, and for those of you who don't know, GSG Audio has long made subwoofer assembly kits that you can build and assemble yourself, but they now do completely finished subs, so you can just go and buy a complete sub that comes fully packaged with a warranty and everything. These are their 18-inch BTS behind the screen speaker, so they're more shallow than a typical speaker, but don't let that fool you because they are monsters. You can customize things like the driver and the amplifier that come with it. For my subs, I chose the 18-inch stereo integrity high excursion driver and a speaker power SP8000 amplifier. So they have an insane amount of power, and I'll tell you right now, these subs are incredible. This amp and driver combo is only one of the many options that they offer, and I chose this because I wanted the best performance sealed subwoofer. But if you want something more budget conscious, you can choose a different driver or a different amplifier or a different cabinet, because they also offer ported and sealed cabinets in anything from 15 to 24 inches, as well as dual driver subwoofers, so you can get, say, a dual 18-inch or 24-inch sealed or ported sub. There are a lot of options and a lot of designs, from small sealed 15 or 18-inch subwoofers to a large 24-inch ported sub. So I'll leave links in the description to their site and Facebook group if you want to learn more about them. These speakers up front are the Arendal Sound 1528 monitors, and they are audiophile speakers by any definition. They're of course great for home theater too and have a lot of output and can handle a lot of power. Plus, they look really good. Paired with that is the Arendal Sound 1728 center channel, which is on a stand that I built and on isolation feet too, of course. In the back are the Arendal Sound 1723S surround speakers. Now it's time to install the in-ceiling speakers, and I chose the Focal 300 ICA6. The lower your ceiling is, then the more of an angle you'll need for your speakers for them to be directed properly to the main listening position. These brackets mount to the ceiling, and the speakers in turn then mount to the bracket. After that, you can adjust the direction that they are facing. Whose bright idea was this again? Normally I make it a point of duty not to fight with parts of my house, but yeah, not today. After a brief struggle, I did manage to get the speakers installed in the brackets. I painted the white grills black and we're done. You know, this has really been a labor of love, and I hope the video conveys that, because even though it took me a while since I was doing it myself and I did it when I had time to do it, it really didn't feel like that long, because everything I was doing, I was fulfilling, you know, my own vision and just making things that I saw in my head a reality. So as you may have gathered, the layout of the room as it stands right now is a 5.4 Dolby Atmos config. That means I have 5 bed layer channels with 4 subwoofers and 4 in-ceiling speakers. And people might think that's a lot of subs for a relatively small room. So those are 4 18-inch sealed subwoofers, and they do have a lot of output, but they also provide for a lot of headroom. So it definitely fits my needs. Now, some may ask why I only have 5 bed layer speakers when in my other home theater in my previous house, I had 7 bed layer speakers with 4 in-ceiling speakers. And that's because those speakers actually got stolen. Yeah, it's a long story, and maybe I'll make a video about it someday, but for now, that's, you know, all I'm gonna say about it. But the speakers mentioned in the video is what I currently have. Now, I'm not quite sure about what speakers I want in the room going forward, because again, I want to get to those 7 bed layer speakers, so I'm uncommitted on the actual speakers. But hopefully I'll be able to test out a bunch of different speakers to hear them in my room and then make a choice, whether that be, you know, in-room speakers or in-wall speakers, who knows. But it's a great opportunity to hear more speakers and find out, you know, what really sounds good to me and what I like and what I would love to commit to going forward. Now, I mentioned that this is a stopgap theater, and that's exactly what it is. So ideally in the future, I'll be tearing down this entire room and making something with a little more isolation, a little more noise isolation, because that's important to me as well, and more purpose-built acoustic design as well, because, you know, having a really purposefully built and designed room always trumps one that isn't. So that's the direction I plan to go in the future. We'll see how long that takes. Hopefully it's not too long, maybe a year or so, but we'll see. So how does this all sound? Well, in a word, amazing. It's very similar to my previous system, since I had most of the same equipment, but having a dedicated room where I can, you know, get as wild as I want sometimes is pretty nice. That said though, having subs in the rear is a new experience for me, and they're kind of like near field subs, so they give the best massages. It's like having a tactile transducer in the seats without needing one. So the seats rumble and shake when the bass hits, and it's an amazing feeling, because it feels like when you're at like Dolby Cinema, but they use transducers while I don't. I just have the 2 18-inch subs behind me. So each of these 3 seats definitely feels the rumble when the bass hits, and the shaking, of course. Initially, I had them closer to the seats, so that effect was even more pronounced, but I had to move them back a little bit for my waveforming tests, and that's been crazy. The bass response and the bass consistency across the room is awesome. That's all I can say about it. It took a while to do with all the calibration and calibration points, but it was definitely worth it in the end. I have created a little audio demo as well to go along with this video, and of course it won't sound the same over YouTube as it does in the room, but I figured I'd do it nonetheless.
You're clear, boy! Go. Let's go. 2 minutes, people. Let's go.
This room is pretty dark, right? And that's by choice. I wanted to have as little distractions as possible as far as light reflecting off surfaces. So that's why the walls are in a dark gray and the trim is black. So I definitely need lighting to light up the place when I'm not watching a movie. So if I'm cleaning or just hanging out or whatever, listening to music, for example. So that's why I have the LED lighting around the perimeter, on the screen wall, and behind me. That's more aesthetic because, you know, I wanted to, but that's why for sure the perimeter lights are there, and using that I can turn that to white and act as another task light for the room. The lighting that you see behind me and above are from a DIY system called Quinn LED, and it's based on the WLED platform. They sell these systems basically with controllers and power boards that you can then assemble together based on your needs, whether you want, you know, to control one zone or multiple zones. So my setup here uses 2 octaboards, which provides for 16 different channels, and I've used 12 of those. So I've used a lot of them, but it has some great customization. You can customize the patterns and all of that, but also some great integrations as well, like with Home Assistant. So I have all of these controlled with HomeKit. And if you have any smart home platform, you know, Alexa or Google, you can tie them into it as well. It's pretty cool. The hexagonal tiles in the back are kind of similar to what I had in my previous home theater, but it's a bit more complex. So now we have the lighting inside the design versus around the edges. And it's similar to what I saw on one of the tours from Bill Montage. He had a video of someone with a home theater that did something like this, and that's the inspiration for this design. My approach is a bit different though. I use a layer of 2 hexagonal tiles, a smaller one where I put the LED around it, and then the larger one, which is what you see. So the LEDs disappear in the background and all you see is that indirect lighting that moves throughout the honeycomb. As far as equipment is concerned, my processor is a Trinov Altitude 16, which is a 16-channel processor, expandable up to 20, so it can process up to 20 channels, and that is one of the best processors on the market, bar none. And I've had that for a little bit and I absolutely love that thing. So it's a processor, so it needs external power. So my amplifier is the Parasound A51 power amplifier, as well as a Outlaw Audio 7000X. So the Parasound powers my 5 bed layer speakers, while the Outlaw powers the Atmos speakers. The projector in the back of the room is the Valerian Vision Master Pro 2, and this is a brand new projector from a brand new company. And they sent me this projector a few months ago, but it has really kind of disrupted the market, because not only does it has smart platform functionality built in with Google TV, but it also has a high brightness output at 3000 ISO lumens. So it definitely has some noteworthy performance with dynamic tone mapping and black level enhancement and all of that. So I'll be doing a review on that one as well in the future. My media sources are one, a Zidu UHD 8000, which is an 8K media player that has, you know, slots for hard drive where you can save your movie files, so you can have them all in a centralized location and play them all from that one source. It's also a Apple TV 4K the newest version with Ethernet, as well as a Panasonic UDP 8000 Blu-ray player. And those are all my sources, at least for now. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer as many of your questions as I possibly can. And of course, I'll leave links in the description for anyone who wants to learn more about the equipment in this room and where I've gotten them from. For example, my processor, the Trinnov Altitude 16, which I got from Value Electronics, which is a huge partner and supporter of the channel. So shout out to those guys as well. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this has been your friendly neighborhood villain man saying be safe and peace.